Hi. Is that between and yours also?
On stage. Standing to foster the digital transformation in the nation. To start off proceedings, it's my esteemed pleasure to invite Mr. Vasantadesha Priya, Secretary, Ministry of Telecommunication, Digital Infrastructure and Foreign Employment.
Good evening, Honorable Minister Harish Nandu, Honorable Deputy Minister Mananakar, for the ministries and the people here representing Microsoft. So, and milestone in our journey of digital transformation in Sri Lanka, especially using computers for almost 5 decades now. However, the that we have to do by signing an MOU with Microsoft. Number one, that we know government still doesn't understand Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Office. Windows is also part of it. It is one reason. On the other hand, we know, we realize that there is a government policy which says that the government, whenever that we use computers, there is the intellectual property rights that we should oblige. And then it is one way we are neglecting our, one of the basic laws. Huge vulnerability and for anyone to attack our systems, our computers and so on. Because
the signing of the MOU or start of a program which is going to take Microsoft and government of Sri Lanka in the transformational journey. This is a new beginning. The question one would ask is, what did we do 14 years? Why did we take? So the secretary explained, we actually, while drafting this, we took about 1.5 years. The requirement has changed, things have changed. But let me try to very quickly explain what is the relevance of this MOU today. ITC, I thought will take you to a few research data. ITC says in another 3 years' time, in Asia, 60% of the services will be delivered through digital or the technology. Now we can argue about the percentages here. What is the relevance of this here? Whether we like it or not, the transformation is happening and it is covering all of us, Asia. What are we trying to do here? On the other side of this building, we are building the port city. Right? We are trying to get FDIs. We are trying to create employment. Are we going to be competitive enough to attract that investment to Sri Lanka? Our team to get it operationalized alongside the ministry. So we have a well-known person who has a big track record, particularly the transformation. When he was a regulator in the telecom sector.
For garments that customers will purchase. Today, the Hydromani Group manufactures over 15 million units across 4 geographies. That's Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Vietnam and Ethiopia most recently. The challenge we face today is we're unable to identify where defects lie at the needle point. We look at a 98 to 99% entitlement in order to deliver value and profits. Anything else is waste. The interesting thing is our lead times were much faster then than they are today. We are pushed into making decisions based on historical information.
Real-time data gives higher money and new level of speed and visibility. But in the past, the group relied on manual reports to make decisions. This time-consuming process meant that decision-making and corrective action on quality issues was often delayed. It also meant that a significant amount of resources was spent on rework. Hydromani needed shorter response times and real-time visibility into their production quality. We saw an opportunity to leverage technology to help them improve and develop a cloud-based quality management solution. We looked at several cloud platforms but chose Microsoft Azure because of its scalability, serverless computing, and built-in compatibility with Power BI to build an end-to-end quality management solution called Rescue. Dashboards on the shop floor help pinpoint issues right down to the operation, and this continuous feedback allows the team to act on issues in a matter of minutes rather than hours. In addition to minimizing the impact of production, teams are free to focus on more proactive quality measures.
We've been running rescue for well over a year now, and the results have been astonishing. We've seen a reduction in quality defects, and the best part is it's actually based at the point of needle, which means decisions are made on the floor rather than waiting for the end of day for us to read the report. Now this is massive when you actually factor in the fact that we run this across 37 different factories across 4 geographies. That's where rescue has really come in to help us.
In today's apparel industry, manufacturers must embrace technology and be able to make faster, more precise and more effective decisions on the go. With rescue running on Microsoft technology, Hydromony has the edge they need to stand out and be competitive.
Mr. Vivek Putukod, who is the General Manager, Public Sector, Microsoft Asia Pacific, who will next address the
Secretary for the Ministry of ICT, Chairman of ICTA and CEO designate for ICTA. Ladies and gentlemen, the privilege that I have as heading Microsoft in the region for the public sector business, I get to travel around Asia Pacific region, talking to many governments, talking to many ministers as well as bureaucrats who are responsible or at the helm of transforming service delivery. And today, I thought it would be appropriate for me to just share my snippets. What my take on is what's happening in the region, what other countries are doing, versus what I personally have experienced in Sri Lanka during my journey so far. Of course, the stereotypes and cliches come to my mind. As a kid who grew up watching cricket, cricket curry and coastal holidays is what comes to my mind when it comes to Sri Lanka. But over the course of years that I've started working with the team here in Microsoft Sri Lanka, as well as my previous experience, I understand there is so much potential. The infrastructure that's been created through skills, through technology, has been very good so far. But ladies and gentlemen, I can share with you very confidently today, we are exactly at the cusp of something significant that's likely to happen in a very short period of time. That's what we call digital transformation. If you listen to the narrative from World Economic Forum, it's clear that every country, every community on the planet is going to be impacted in one way or the other by digital technology.
Deputy Minister Manshana Nankal, my Secretary Vasanta Deshatria, dignitaries of the head table, Hasita and Vivek Putukod, I guess I got your name right, and also all the dignitaries from ICTA, including our new dynamic chairman, who has Dr. Didital, I'm sure, and he will do, and his able team, with the third chairman, as well as the new CEO, and all the top officials of ICTA. I can see the top officials of SLT also being participated here, so it's a very good strategy heading to the implement with our ministry in the future, so it's very good. And also, the ladies and gentlemen from the industry. Thank you for being here. I think it's a significant event. It is long overdue. Thank you, Shalini, for all the effort that you have made over the period of time. I know you've worked tirelessly trying to get the ministry and us to work with Upendra. At the outset, I need to thank you because I know how much you tried taking me to Redmond, showing me Microsoft around. And from the first day I think I took office, we were very interested seeing the world's 6th largest IT company, and if we had anything to do with that and be a part of it, and to have an MOU would have been my first success, but it took a long time. So 3 years, and I think now it's time to pack our bags and go home as well, and with the looks around it. But however, I'm quite happy that there are initiatives taken to bridge the divide, the digital divide. And what I quite ecstatic is to see what Microsoft is willing to do for Sri Lanka. Microsoft is a household name. Microsoft still has the Hotmail account even in Microsoft. And I myself is a loyal follower, and I still have a Hotmail account. A lot of people don't have Hotmail accounts. Very few people have Hotmail accounts. They moved on, but I still have Hotmail accounts. So I think I'm a strong believer of Microsoft. And I believe what Microsoft have done over the period of time from the start of 1975 and to date where they are, they've been changing. They've gone into cloud and they've gone into IoT devices, and it's an amazing experience for Sri Lankan. But what we are doing with the ministry is many as 6 main key areas what we will concentrate with the ministry. One thing is to strategically plan the ministry in achieving short, mid-term and long-term goals for the MTDI. So this is the Ministry of Telecom and Digital Infrastructure. It's not only for me, even if the government change or not, the ministry remains. The digital ministry was formed in 2015, and the digital ministry is a new ministry in Sri Lanka. And transforming Sri Lanka, just like Hasita said, as well as Vivek said, Sri Lanka is the right place at the right time. As Hasita just mentioned, just across the Gulf face, the financial city is just about to come out. Sri Lanka could be the next alternative for Dubai or Singapore. I keep saying it, and we need to be prepared and we need to be ready. And how we be ready, and we need to be digitally savvy. How do we do that? We need to have our youngsters be prepared to take that pressure. I'm a bit unhappy, even though we had a massive initiative of wanting to give A-level students 10-inch tablet with a keyboard. That was shut down for the unfortunate defeat in the elections. The government thought giving fertilizer is better than giving a tablet, which I don't agree. But that's how things roll, and they thought that 5 billion of giving the tablets was not the best initiative right now, because people want Pohra, then give you Pohra. So, but I think the Pohra should have been given through the tablets, because that is knowledge. And what I see, to do all this, we needed connectivity. And I'm happy that SLT is here. We are doing fantastic work over the period of time. One thing the government lacks is of what I said this in today's meeting in the morning. Professor Rohan Samraji was there. And we were explaining how we did not market of what we have done. Sri Lanka, 2/3 of the country is fiber optic enabled. We have the fiber optic cable being done within Sri Lanka. But there is a mindset issue in Sri Lanka. People don't believe that we are still digitally connected. The government service don't believe it. The government service don't want to transform that. They don't want, I said this in the morning also, they still want to remain on the ADSL and not use the fiber optic. When they have a LGN connectivity where 100 Mbps connectivity is available, they still want to stick into their own filing system of what they have and not go into the digital era of things. So this is where we need Microsoft support of how we change their mindsets, how do we change people's thinking. So I think it's important to have this best practices brought in, and there are various projects that we will have Microsoft support brought into the ministry on cybersecurity, guiding on procurement. Procurement is another issue, key issue that the government is facing. So there are various things that we are working on. Even in the schools, one thing I realized is in Sri Lanka, we had 600,000 students that who sits for ordinary level exam, and only 200,000 students move on for advanced level. But this government took a bold initiative of making sure every student has 13 years of compulsory education. Again, I said this government has not marketed themselves well, but I think this is the best thing that any government have done. You give a student 13 years of compulsory education, it's a massive amount of money the government had to spend on students. We have been blamed for taxing. This taxing goes on for free education in Sri Lanka. And keeping 13 years of compulsory education means you need to have more schools. So imagine 600,000 students who falls out, the 400,000 students at the age of 16 does not have anything to do in their lives. They are the ones who go starts driving a 3-wheeler. That's unskilled employment. And we were having a massive issue of finding skilled employment in Sri Lanka. So we took an initiative. Now we are keeping them in the school, giving them even vocational training education. What I was excited to see was the IoT on agriculture. We are still an agriculture-based country, even though we don't believe it or accept it. We still can propel with agriculture. And Upendra from our ministry bought an IoT device from BBC, a microbit, and we gave it to 120 schools. And we just threw it in the schools from hand-picked schools. And you'll be amazed how young kids like this subject, IT, and how they got excited with what they could do. And they're very articulate in their thinking, the young kids. And also, with what we do with the smart classrooms, we just got a smart classroom, and the attention the kids have on a smart classroom is completely different to what they do with a book. You see a visual, and your attention clearly goes there, then a teacher just reads out and keeps reading on it. I myself would have been a much better student if I had a smart classroom in my days. And I wouldn't have been scribbling on the book, I would have been just looking at the digital board. So this is the way that we should start thinking, and this is what we should be investing on if we want a brighter, digitally savvy Sri Lanka. So I'm absolutely honored and grateful that we were able to strike this, get this MOU, better late than never. And I'm so happy and so proud that my Ministry Secretary, Shalini, who was the backbone of this whole entire MOU, and all the people behind Microsoft and my ministry for getting this organized. And I see an amazing future for Sri Lanka. Ministers are always the temporary positions, but you people will always have to carry forward the legacies. So I hope we can initiate this process, but it's up to you all to carry it forward. And I hope, and I wish you all the very best, because any MOU, the minister never signs, it's the secretary who signs. So it's up to the government officials to carry forward. It's up to the government officials and the relevant stakeholders to carry forward and keep the good work. And I'm sure ICTA is starting to do lots of work. And I want to make it a point to note, whatever issues that ICTA has, it's cleared out. I just heard that a massive sum of money has been come to the ministry, and ICTA will be settled off with all their dues. So ICTA is going to have a fresh start, and so we can see a very good future with new initiatives and what we want to do. And I think great days are ahead. And thank you, Microsoft, and thank you for being with us. And hopefully we'll have a prosperous working engagement in future. Thank you very much, and thank you. Thank you.
Minister Hanif.
Honorable Minister, Chairman, ICTA, Secretary for Ministry of ICT, and my colleague Asita. So maybe I'll start off with, you. I'd love to hear about your vision, direction for ICTA, given it's a relatively new journey that you've undertaken. What do you see in the future of ICT? How do you see that making an impact, and how does it work with agencies in the room in the future going forward? Your thoughts, please.
I think the most important thing is what our minister said. He said, we have done a lot of work, but we have not communicated. I think one of the things that we have been tasked to do is to work and also to communicate. We will do both. So what I think, obviously ICT is across silos, involving multiple parties, everybody with their own interests. It's a difficult area to navigate. But the strength that we have is that we have good people, we have passionate staff, we have a good leadership. The minister has appointed a board of really top-class professional people to the board. And I think the most important thing that I have is that there's been a lot of good work done. So just to give you one example, about 2 million people are already connected to a medical system, a public health system, in the public hospitals. People don't know about this. You can wear a wristband with a barcode and you can go through the hospital, you can get your x-rays, you can get your operations done, you can get all this done. And we are not producing paper, we are not wasting plastic for the x-rays. So these kinds of wonderful things have been done by this organization, but few people know about it. We are going to be completing the puzzle. We are going to be working on health data protection to complement the work that has been done, because I don't want millions of people's health records on a cloud without the necessary technical and legal safeguards. As somebody said, I do very deeply care about security. We will put the pieces that are missing, we will fill in, but we are building on what has been done before. So there's nothing that we are starting new. Well, I wouldn't say nothing, but quite a lot of what we are doing is already what exists. So we just putting the finishing touches, making the connection, developing the synergies, and telling the stories.
Got it.
So I think that's what we're going to be doing.
Thank you. So you're talking about doing more and communicating more in terms of what's being done on the funding. Yeah, that's what I heard. What are some of the priorities, and how are you going to help the public sector agencies particularly to undertake digital transformation? What are some of your top of the mind, if you had unlimited budget and resources, what are 2 or 3 things that you would start executing today?
A good question and tough question also. My priorities, I think, preparing for next phase of e-government, the digital transformation. And number 1, I think, capacity building, in educating people on digital transformation, what is required is really number 1. And I would say that, rather say that, is e-leadership. That is what I want, number 1, especially the bureaucracy, to learn about this and be aware that how we could undertake it and lead it. Number 2 would be addressing now we are almost talking about the same thing, but security is one of the paramount things that we want to work, because I work at ICT for a long time, and I still feel, remember that when one of our systems gone down and we start feeling that it is an attack, and we were attacking during the war period by a number of countries, especially within vested interest. And so it was a real tough situation when you don't have all the security implements in place and you can't go to sleep with a clear mind. So that is to be addressed, because I know that sometimes we are sitting on a time bomb. Systems have been done without real security measures being taken into consideration. Number 3 would be that having a proper, I am hopeful that the new chair board of ICT will also take this forward, to have a proper strategy for taking into next phase what we call the connected government. In that sense, again, it is not just technology, it is huge level of governance that I am talking about, and connecting all the government organizations, leadership, and it involves policy and everything that we want, and having a proper strategy to take into next level is good. And I say that these are very big things, but still could be my 3 priorities.
Good. Thank you. I think that's very clear. So that leads me to the question to the Honourable Minister.
Even on this, I just want to add one more thing. I think one of the main struggles we are facing in digital transformation is that I see my dear colleague and friend, I call him a colleague, but I call him a friend as well, but it's immigration controller. We have a lot of struggles when we work, because we're interdependent on other ministries in working in the digital transformation. And sometimes to get things done, it's very difficult, because it's a digital ministry, but we have to depend on another ministry to work with. So sometimes it's not only the bureaucracies, but it's just the thinking. It becomes very difficult. So recently, the Indian IT minister was in Sri Lanka, and he was just going on about how much of transformation they've done. So then I asked him, I said, what is your other minister? He was Justice Minister as well. So I said, it's so easy for him because he makes the laws. And he makes the laws and then he changes it and then everybody has to abide by it. So for me, being the youngest minister of the cabinet and trying to transform these things, sometimes you have a huge challenge because the others would not want to change those changes happening. So there is a bit of a resistance that happens on this transformation. So I think it's something for even the government to really realize how this whole digital transformation, this is the buzzword, this is the need of the hour, and the government also needs to look at this very seriously. Sometimes you just tell the PM, either the digital ministry should be under him so that the calling and the shots would be much faster and quicker.
Or Justice Ministry under you.
Or maybe I should be the Prime Minister.
That leads me to a question. You probably answered my anticipatory question. What's next? No, that's not a question. I really want
this doesn't go on media.
No, this is friendly. So my question to you, Minister, is as it's been said, security. A lot of people are awake, not knowing what they don't know, particularly when it comes to security. And whether it's war or post-war, there are many people today, organized state actors, still trying to disrupt way of life. And I think Sri Lanka could be an easy target for many people because it can disrupt and make a huge impact and headlines in the region. So given the sensitivity that's there, what's your view, and I'm kind of leading question, in terms of cloud policy? How far are you from making an announcement of cloud first for Sri Lanka? Is that something that is even in your realm of thinking?
Yes, we've been looking at these cloud platforms. We want all Sri Lankan government networks to be on a cloud platform. I think even SLT built their own cloud platform at one point, but a lot of the government officers were reluctant to host it on a SLT or a government owned platform, so they thought they were not safe. So there are certain issues because this concept is quite new to Sri Lanka, so we need to get the confidence of the people. Having said that, I met your Microsoft leaders in Davos and we requested them to have a center, a Microsoft dedicated office in Sri Lanka, and they said they will consider, now that you are the Asia Pacific region head here, I think you can communicate back and say, okay, have your cybersecurity center. They were talking about moving a cybersecurity center into Sri Lanka, a strategic point, so why not you do that? We might have Microsoft Cloud being used in Sri Lanka entire system, so we can do it.
Great, thank you for that opportunity. So, a question to Anusita. You've got three formidable leaders in the room, and you've got huge expectations. Extending the point that the Honourable Minister made in putting Sri Lanka right in the center of the map, as far as Microsoft's concerned, what would be one or two things that you would request leaders support in helping not just public sector but also your customers, your small medium enterprises, your commercial customers to transform digitally?
So two things. So I think I was very happy when we signed the MOU, but after I signed it, I thought, did I double my target? Right? I mean, it's a big burden or responsibility we are taking in putting some words there. We need to put the words to deeds. Right? I think that is where I need all the support. I would say, like the Honourable Minister and the Secretary has sponsored all this way. What we need that is sponsorship. We'll put a task team from our side to make sure it happens, because I took over the post not very long, right? And what we signed as a team, I want to make sure that we deliver. I think that's the main thing I can
Right.
try to focus on, and that's the sponsorship we need from the leadership here, and all the agencies, including ICT.
Great, thank you. Professor, in terms of mindset change, Minister referred to mindset being a blocker, right? Now, what's your experience?
It's always dangerous to disagree with one's minister. But in my view, I'm never going to blame any government official for not adopting technology. In my view, I'm going to look at what is holding them back. Because Sri Lankans are, generally speaking, we are an island people, we are innovative, we are open to new ideas. Look at fashions, look at styles, look at movies, right? We are generally open to new ideas, right? We have become a little more closed and xenophobic in recent times, sadly. But generally speaking, we were an open people. So my question always has been, if something is not being adopted, what is it that I can do? What is it that I can do? This is my basic philosophy. Why talk about other people? What is it that I can do? What is it that ICTA can do to solve that problem? I'm talking to my staff and I'm saying, let us put ourselves in the shoes of a government official. Let us put ourselves in the shoes of a citizen who is not using the electronic remote capabilities that we are giving them, but instead they're going and standing in line in a government office. Why is it that they do that? Now I have one answer. With the 2% of property taxes, we have to pay for if we are using a credit card. If you're paying, if you got a big property, it's a big chunk of change, right? What we are going to work on, and we will work on, and we will prioritize, is getting this payment down. I've been talking to the mayor of Colombo, I've been talking to lots of other people and saying, is it possible for you, like a commercial organization, to absorb this cost? If not possible, we have Lanka Clear here. We are looking at a solution with Lanka Clear where there will be a fixed amount over 10,000, something like that. Over 10,000 payments, there will be a fixed fee. Below that, it will be a small percentage. So we are addressing the constraints, we are addressing the incentives. With that, we will also engage in communication. Now I'll give another example. That's something that was done before us. The minister has been concerned that we are not using public Wi-Fi enough. We are giving public Wi-Fi, but the people are not using it. He had gone to Badulla in his district and he had put up some signs that there is public Wi-Fi here. Inform the people that there's public Wi-Fi. Usage had gone up. I'm going to take that idea, I'm going to push it really hard. Take that idea of communicating to people, telling them what is available, giving it to them in places like the district, like government offices, where they can use it. Go to the pain points and do advertising in the pain. Let me go out away from the line and do the transaction using my smartphone. If I can put somebody there who will help these people, coach them, then this fellow will not come back to the office, he'll do it from home. So, I know their actions. What I can control is ICTA's actions.
One of the things that you talked about is capacity building, and there's a huge ecosystem, technology ecosystem that's being created in Sri Lanka today by young students, entrepreneurs wanting to set up startups. What's your expectation of the industry? How do you see industry doing this public-private models and partnership, particularly when it comes to digital economy?
What I feel from the having interacted with number of big, sometimes global IT companies, and though they come forward most of the time to help and with various models, but what we have been unable to do is that break down the communication gap, understanding gap between the government and the companies. And I know that I take to me discuss about motoring system. Tushar, Mr. Tushar is really the IT commissioner, and they are trying to completely change into online system, motoring, e-motoring. However, there was a huge gap in understanding that a particular organization or us, we were not aware of what is available on what terms that technology can assist that particular organization to answer that particular business function. The huge gap in what is available, how we get there. And if you look at another one of the big, the best example has made it again. Now the change request, the change cost is over 1 billion rupees, and this has been simply because there's a huge gap between understanding what's available and what could be done. So there is solution providers are on one side trying to sell their products, but not making aware major solution providers for Sri Lanka and say that these are things that are available for addressing this. So again,